I just keep hearing how far could they push you. And it's giving the energy systemic failure of sacrifice backfired. And if this is for you, I want to tell you that you refuse to go along with the narrative. And it's your silence that haunts them. Higher power on the bottom of the deck. But if this is for you, I want to tell you before the systemic failure, it's like you had to learn the hard way how your words and your reactions backfire. And if this is for you, I'm being drawn to like 2022, 2023. Your inability to control your emotions and more importantly, your thoughts. Back entrance. You had to learn a lesson in such an incredibly painful way because it was your reactions that allowed you to become a sacrifice. Solved on the bottom of the deck. If this is for you, I want to tell you that your silence haunts them because your silence was the very thing that lit their playbook on fire. But before silence could become your shield, you used to wield your voice and your energy in an unhinged way that always backfired. How far could they push you? And if this is for you, I want to tell you that they attempted to find what mattered to you most and attack it. Border crossing in reverse. You refuse to go along with the false narrative. And silence set their playbook on fire because every attack was based off of your reaction. And if this is for you, I want to tell you that it's like your tipping point came at the beginning of 2024. It's giving around February or March, your tipping point. Where your words had backfired so much, your need to defend. It's like you finally stopped even acknowledging or correcting their lies. And because you refuse to react, it's giving they were trying to strategize off memories of your old reactions. But the more time and distance that came in between, it's like they were choking on their own words because yours weren't there to twist. Impersonation. They needed the character or the role that you used to allow yourself to play. And that's the difference. You're recognizing, or you had to recognize, the mask that you were hiding behind when your words and reactions would backfire because that wasn't really you. You're recognizing that in order for truth to move, you had to take off the mask as their victim. And I just keep hearing that it's like, you let them cook. You let them cook in their own energy. You let them burn themselves. You let them cut themselves with their own swords being words, right? They never thought that you would recognize that you were the key to breaking the cycle. Coerced confession in reverse. They couldn't. Coerced confession in reverse. They can only twist the words that you speak. They can only manipulate the energy that you give. And when you learned that silence was a shield and not a weakness, I want to tell you that's where that impersonation card comes in. Somebody had sold you the mask and the identity and the role that silence was weakness. And that the only way truth is real is if others believe you. And you adopted that role and that mask until it burned you and bit you in your own ass. Negotiation table in reverse. They tried to bait you to come to the table, and this is metaphorically speaking. They tried to bait you to come to the table to talk, and you refused over and over and over again. And if this is for you, they tried to imply that you were the problem because you would not come to the negotiation table. And you recognize there's nothing to negotiate because truth does not barter. Truth does not bend. Truth does not crack or collapse under pressure. It is false narratives and lies that do. Their strategy was to get you to come to the table because they could never sacrifice you. You had to be willing to sacrifice yourself. And they never thought that you would heal. And when I say heal, they never thought that you would take radical accountability for your words, for your energy, and for the role that you played within the cycle. Barred entry in reverse. Archive room. You didn't forget what you had been taught. Even when the lesson was so incredibly painful, you chose not to forget what you were taught. And that barred entry in reverse, it's giving the energy. They thought they could breathe enough lies into you that your spark would die. It's giving like the same old tactic, the same old playbook, and you set their playbook on fire. GPS tracker. Forced entry. Encrypted. It's giving the energy that you are the proof. What they tried to bury is still very much alive. And now forced entry. The way they tried to force themselves into your energy and into your life, now they have front row seats to see exactly what it is that you healed from. What was meant to be an ambush point backfired. Interrogation in reverse, because you wouldn't talk, because you wouldn't breathe life into what you weren't. They could never get you to snuff out your own spark. And your fire grew and it burned their playbook. Now they have front row seats to see exactly what you healed from. Love you guys.